Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.
But Don Nealon's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread. As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football. Here is Harris in trouble. Stiff arms the would-be tackler. Comes down over the 25 to 20. Goes around about at the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
Takes the Slater one-on-one with the defender. Look at Pat White.
West Virginia football. Hey, you know what that's about. They don't know what it's about. West Virginia football. Football, people.
Let them know. Leave no doubt tonight. Leave no doubt tonight. No doubt. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Boot.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back with the Country Roads webcast. Hope you didn't miss me, because maybe I should have just stayed live a little bit longer with our announcement on Ren Baker, but nonetheless, no sooner than I ended the video, was getting set to edit the clips and put out the smaller little segments of the video in their individual respective pieces onto our YouTube channel. Did I see on WVU Sports Now a statement released from Rob Alsop and Gordon Gee, and it is now official coming from WVU. Neal Brown will return as West Virginia's head football coach in 2023. I want to share that statement with you guys that maybe have not had a chance to see it yet. Brand new now, just now breaking, but an official release coming from the university. Neal Brown will indeed return as West Virginia's head football coach in 2023. Going to read through that release with you guys here momentarily. Going to give it a second, let some people roll in here. But while we let some people, have a second to jump in here and learn of the news of Neal Brown officially being announced to return as West Virginia's head football coach in 2023 and share the press release with you guys. Want to encourage you guys, as always, while you're in here on these live streams, one of the best things that we like for you guys to do is drop your thoughts on whatever the topic at hand is. And of course, that being Neal Brown returning this time in 2023 into the comments. Let us know what you're thinking about it. But also, in addition with that, any questions you have WVU related, whether it be football or basketball, be sure and drop them in the chat. We'll answer any questions you got. It's a big West Virginia news day. New athletic director Neal Brown returning. All kinds of things to talk about West Virginia wise, and any of them that you want to address or give us your thoughts on and have us pull up in the chat to show everyone and kind of touch on. Drop it in the chat and we will do so moving throughout. But now that we've had a second for people to jump in here, I will catch up with you guys in the chat momentarily. But before, let's get to the big news at hand and the reason for this emergency live stream here from us at the Country Roads webcast, of course, and that is Neal Brown officially returning as West Virginia's head football coach in 2023. The reports broke earlier, but now it is made official in a press release from the university coming from interim AD Rob Alsop and university president Gordon Gee. Let me share my screen with you guys and we will read the press release together. I haven't actually read the press release. I just saw that it came out, scheduled the live stream, and wanted to react with it in real time and read it in real time with you guys here on the channel. So let's see what we got here. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. Okay, loading up here. Just 1 second. All right, here we are. Page pulled up here. Let's see. Okay. Statement from WVU Vice President for Strategic WVU Football Programs. What this is entitled. And you can see coming out less than an hour ago, or actually exactly 1 hour ago now at this time, November 30th, 4:59 Eastern Time. Statement from WVU Strategic Initiatives and Interim Athletic Director Rob on the WVU football program. Here we are. And this is where we officially learn of the news. Let me read it with you guys. Over the past several weeks, President Gee and I have discussed the future of WVU athletics and our football program with a number of individuals and talented athletic administrators across the country. We were also impressed with the effort of our team the last few weeks. Additionally, we also had discussions with Coach Brown and our new athletic director, Ren Baker, about our next steps as a department. In fact, Ren and Coach Brown have already connected relating to the future of the program. As a result of these efforts and discussions, it is clear that Coach Brown should continue to lead our football program. So that's interesting right there that Ren Baker and Neal Brown have already met. Obviously, they may have hit it off. I don't know. But obviously, Ren Baker, this has been coming down the line for probably a couple days now. If him and Neal Brown have already met. And obviously they like each other because it seems like he's in agreement with this hire, or at least they make it seem like that with this statement. But as you see there, the final sentence being the one that matters. As a result of all these efforts and discussions, it is clear that Coach Brown should continue to lead our football program. With new energy that comes with the new leadership, it is time to rally around Ren's leadership as we move forward quickly to recruit more top student athletes to our program and continue to develop the incredibly talented group of returning players who are an integral part of our Mountaineer family. I know that Ren will be focusing a lot of his time and attention on how we improve our results on the football field and across a number of our programs. I will continue to work with Ren, Neal, and the rest of our athletics programs to ensure a smooth transition to the next era of our athletics department. Let's go. All right. So there you have it. Rob Alsop's comments there confirming what was rumored earlier and only reported at that time, but now we know as fact, and it is official that Neal Brown will return as West Virginia's head football coach in 2023. So that's the topic and the reason for another emergency live stream, the rare, extremely rare, maybe the first time in the Country Roads webcast history we've done 2 live streams in one day. But Kenny says, what this is troubling to me, this is bad. I don't like it. It's time to part ways with the higher ups. In my opinion, they have handled this badly from the start. I can't disagree with you that they've handled it badly. I don't know about parting ways, and I don't think it's going to happen, whether you want it to or not. I just don't think so. But the one thing I will say that they did do that I liked is, as soon as that Shane Lyons news broke, that's kind of the topic at hand. They said, boom, let's announce our hire. Let's come out with our statements and kind of drown that out. So, they did do that. But also, I respect the fact that they did come out with this statement. I mentioned in the previous live stream that maybe the reports were coming just from them leaking it, and that was going to be their way of announcing it, because I know a lot of people were calling for it. Like, if Neal Brown's coming back, just let us know so that we know. Give us a definitive statement. Didn't know if we were going to get one, didn't expect to get one, especially not in the same day as the athletic director news, but we do. Just coming out an hour ago, they give us the statement. So I do respect that, and I will commend them for that, coming out with a definitive statement so we all know what's going on with the football program and how to move forward. And it looks like Neal Brown will return, and we'll see what that means for the coaching staff moving forward. I know people have mentioned some people being fired. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I know there are at least 2 assistants and maybe 3, and I don't know which ones off the top of my head, but I know it's at least 2 of them that contracts have expired. So they could choose not to renew those. But I think we'll see something happen coaching staff-wise. But also, I think something that I didn't mention in my video about, or the live stream about Ren Baker being hired, I didn't realize him and Graham Harrell also have a previous relationship. When Graham Harrell was in North Texas, Ren Baker was, there serving as athletic director still during that time. So previous relationship there. Obviously, apparently, according to the statement, him and Neal Brown also hit it off here. Trying to catch up with you guys in the chat a little bit before I get to a couple other things that I wanted to pull up. Let me go ahead and get those ready up here on the screen for you guys in the meantime. But the news of Neal Brown returning, of course, was the main reason for the live stream, but it just so happened to be so can touch on those talking points as well throughout, but continue to drop your questions, comments, concerns in the chat as always. Really appreciate that here at the Country Roads webcast, and appreciate you guys in Mountaineer Nation that do tune in to us. And if you are tuned in here, I'm streaming on the Country Roads webcast, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, of course. But if you're tuning in on the YouTube side, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up, give us a like on the video. It'll help with performance and help future videos performances here on the channel as well. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation for sure. I was just trying to pull up here the other talking point that I had that kind of came out was the all Big 12 teams were announced, and West Virginia did place 3 players on there officially. Only one on there, only 2 on the first team, 1 on the second team, and then had several honorable mentions. See if I could pull up that graphic that they shared showing that a little bit ago here. WVU football. Yeah, here. But this is really the only other talking point I had other than the big one at hand, of course. Neal Brown returning as West Virginia coach in 2023. You guys continue to drop your thoughts there on that into the chat, and I will catch up with those before we close this one out. Won't stay with you guys too long, considering I was just with you guys for over an hour announcing the Ren Baker hire and the rumored reports of Neal Brown returning. But now that it was official and a press release came from the university, wanted to make a short video, / live stream for you guys here. But let me know your all's thoughts on, the administration's decisions, whether it be the athletic department, the athletic director hire, or, what we have now about Neal Brown returning. Did they kind of bundle this? What do you think? I'm not talking specifically about the athletic director hire. I think there's potential there. I'm not specifically mad about who they hired. To me, it's about the timing of it all. If they were going to do, make the moves that they were going to make, whether it be firing Shane Lyons or otherwise, I think they should have pulled the trigger a little bit sooner. I think because they waited so long, that's one reason Neal Brown is returning among the buyout and other reasons you can state. But wanted to share this with you guys as well. All Big 12 teams were announced. West Virginia did place 3 guys on there, as you can see here on the screen as I try and share it with you guys, coming from the WVU football Facebook account. First team All Big 12 performers for the Mountaineers officially on the 2022 football season. Zach Frazier on the offensive line and Dante Stills on the defensive line. Kind of no surprise there, really, if you think about it, because if you've been following along the channel, throughout the season, they've been guys that, of course, have been talked about, even though they don't pop up in the stat sheet. Of course, specifically in Zach Frazier's cases, he's not able to do that as an offensive lineman, really. But both of them have been in the top 5 player grades every week, week in and week out. Dante Stills on the defense, Zach Frazier on the offense, and they are the team leaders of this team, and rightfully so. They are earned as one of the best at their position in the conference. First team All Big 12 performers, and then second team All Big 12 Bryce Ford Wheaton, who also, in a bit of news I was going to share here as well, has announced that he will officially be entering the NFL draft, so he will not be returning. So this was the last season we will see Bryce Ford Wheaton in a Mountaineer uniform, and in his final season he's an all-conference performer, earning a spot on the second team. And then you have, of course, a few honorable mention names here for the Mountaineers got on the honorable mention teams, and that was Jasir Cox, C.J. Donaldson, Sam James, Jordan Jefferson, Lee Koba, and Wyatt Milam as honorable mentions there. So that's kind of the other bit of news I wanted to share with you guys, in addition to Neal Brown officially returning as the West Virginia head football coach in 2023. What are you guys thinking about that? Let me know here before we head out. I'll catch up with you guys in the chat, get your all's thoughts. What do you think about Neal Brown coming back? What staff changes would you like to see with the announcement of him returning, and do you think we'll see any? Or are you expecting kind of the complete and total staff to return for West Virginia in 2023? And to me personally, I'm just kind of worried about how this is going to affect season ticket sales, among other things, for the Mountaineers, because I know people were really down, with the news of him possibly returning, towards the end of the season. We saw some super low attendance numbers. It was kind of a foregone conclusion that he may be fired for a while. Then the narrative started to change in the last 2.5 weeks or so, and then now culminating with the official announcement that he will indeed be back. But what are your guys' thoughts? Me personally, I understand why it's happening because of the timing. Like I said, I think they waited too long. I think the buyout was an issue. But personally, just in my opinion, I would have loved to see West Virginia, just cut the cord, clean house, unite the fan base again. You won't have to worry about season ticket sales, worry about any of that. And then also you would have negated the worry of potentially now having to have a coaching change mid-season in 2023 if Neal Brown comes out struggling again, which we can't rule out happening. And that's what I'm worried about now moving forward. And if indeed that does happen, then you look back now as a Mountaineer fan, which is what I'm afraid of and kind of seeing on the horizon is us wondering, well, just why didn't you do it sooner? Why'd you wait this long to do this in 2023 just to have the excuse of this new athletic director evaluating the program for a year if, West Virginia gets off to a bad start potentially in 2023, because it is a very tough schedule for the Mountaineers, just as tough, if not tougher than this season. And, 4-year sample size, don't have a lot of good things to go on to expect improvement, but we'll be cheering and hoping for the future. And that's the one thing I will say, despite my feelings of wishing West Virginia would have gone another way, Neal Brown is coming back. We as a fan base just now need to get behind this, and whatever else happens, support the coaching staff that we ultimately end up having in 2023, whoever's under Neal Brown moving forward. We got a lot of young players with good potential. Got to now hope that we are able to keep those players here in Morgantown, win in the continue, sign the recruits that we have committed, add some others, and then win in the transfer portal. Best hope now, best case scenario, West Virginia has to do better in the transfer portal this offseason. They did last offseason. But the one thing I will say to just kind of finish off my thoughts on this before I hit on some of your alls in the comments and catch up on some of your alls thoughts on West Virginia officially bringing Neal back in 2023 before I close out this live stream, the one thing I wanted to say was just because you may not be happy with the decision, don't hold that against the 2023 West Virginia football team. Let's go out, let's renew our season tickets. Let's support this team. Let's get behind them. Let's go to every home game that we can. Let's cheer them on and hope for the best in 2023. As Mountaineer fans, that's all we can do. And, hope for success for Neal Brown, because regardless of your feelings about him, regardless of the way you think things may go, the fact of the matter is he will be West Virginia's head coach in 2023, and we need to kind of rally behind him and get behind this team more than anything and hope that we turn it around and have a successful football season in 2023. But having said that, let's get here in the chat before I get out here. Didn't want to stay here with you guys too long, but just want to see some of your all's thoughts on Neal Brown returning and what you guys are dropping in here. Appreciate you guys that are tuned in here to the Country Roads webcast, whether it be on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, here for this live stream as Neal Brown is officially returning for the Mountaineers in 2023. Drop us a like if you haven't already, whether you're watching this live or watching it on a playback. If you're tuned in on YouTube, really helps us here on the channel. And if you haven't already, you're a Mountaineer fan, got all kinds of Mountaineer sports content coming in the future, more live streams like this and other things that I think you will enjoy. So hit the subscribe button. It not only will help us, but it will help you because it gets more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, Bo Stacker says, Mountaineer fans, please join Country Roads webcast so we can help keep these players. Absolutely. In turn, that goes right along with what I just said, in supporting Neal Brown and supporting the 2023 edition of the Mountaineer football team. A great way to do that if you can financially. There's smaller packages that you can join to help with. Join the Country Roads Trust. Just Google on your phone, Country Roads Trust. The website will come up. Go to it. It'll list all the packages. There's, some smaller ones, more affordable ones, and then, of course, some more expansive options for you guys out there with deep pockets in Mountaineer Nation. But supporting Country Roads Trust is a great way for West Virginia to have success in the future. We want to get out here and complain about the NIL and transfer portal and how it may affect West Virginia, and we're worried about them becoming a farm program. One of the ways to help us keep that from happening is by supporting the NIL, supporting the Country Roads Trust. So definitely great point, Bo Stacker. Get out there and do that if we can. And glad to see you in here as always. What's going on, man? Kenny as well. What's going on, everybody? Always the usual suspects returning. Appreciate you. New people that may be in here as well, and hope you continue to come back for more West Virginia sports content and subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Dustin Sauls here on Facebook says, considering the situation and the timing, I think the best decision, regardless of how this season went. Yeah, ultimately, that's how it turned out. And I would have to agree with that just because of those caveats and because of the timing. But ultimately, to me, the argument, of course, then boils down to, is that a black mark on this administration and stuff, that they waited too long to where the timing was an issue and we had to stick with Neal Brown, even though maybe we shouldn't have, and we should deserve better as a fan base than what we've been getting with 3 losing seasons in the past 4. that's the argument there for me. But I agree with your comment overall. I think because of the timing and stuff, this is what West Virginia had to do at this point. You keep Neal Brown, you keep the stability. You hope that the new athletic director re-energizes the fan base, and maybe some staff changes that you can make re-energizes the fan base enough that bringing Neal Brown back doesn't affect ticket sales if you're this administration, and you've just got your fingers crossed that maybe he can finally get over that hump and turn things around. Bo Stacker says we need to get behind Wren and give him time to evaluate Brown. We can't expect him to fire Brown right away. It's also too late to hire a coach with the transfer portal and early signing day. Like I said, agreed. Timing became an issue. Ideally, when I was thinking about it in my pipe dream scenario, West Virginia could have brought in a new AD, axed Neal Brown, and brought in a new coach before signing day. But ultimately, if you're thinking about it, taking a step back, taking the golden blue glasses off and what I want to happen, getting in the way of the reality of the situation, it's obviously clear that that's, very tough to make happen. West Virginia did a good job of meeting their 3 to 4 week time frame and getting the athletic director in a timely manner, at least. Now, I think the focus needs to be, like you said, getting behind him, getting behind the program, and hoping West Virginia can bring in the recruits that they need to bring in, sign the national letter of intent, get Rodney Gallagher and some of these super talented guys on campus and see what happens. Hopefully Neal Brown turns around. Maybe he's here for the foreseeable future and we all look back laughing of us wanting him gone. That's best case scenario, hopefully. Tim Hilling says he won't be watching WVU football next season here on Facebook. Valid opinion. And, I understand where you're coming from and I understand the frustration. Like I said, me personally, I wouldn't have gone this way. So I understand your frustration. And I think there will be many that feel that same way that you do. And that's a little bit what I'm worried about, is that this ultimately being a little bit detrimental to West Virginia in the long run, season ticket sales and things like that, and fans becoming apathetic, because I think, let's face it, towards the end of the season, you could see it across, feel it and see it across the fan base in general, the apathy that was there. So bringing Neal Brown back, you worry that continues and maybe even strengthens. So I understand where you're coming from, Tim Hilling, but I encourage you to maybe just rethink it. Just give the team one more chance, cheer for them. Maybe they'll get off to a hot start and turn it around for you. You got a rivalry coming back in Penn State that's going to be nice. You got some young players that, you haven't really seen. And I think you're going to see a different version of the offense that you haven't seen. I've talked about it in the past. We're going to have a dual threat at quarterback, whether it be Garrett Green or Nico Marchiol. And I think, what we saw in these final couple of games, the way the offense looked, it'll look like that plus some next season. I've kind of coined it the run raid. I've stole that term from the announcers in the last game, kind of a spin on the air raid. But we're going to see a lot of 2 tight ends, a lot of 2 backs, and we're going to see read option concepts, RPOs, triple option concepts with guys in motion, orbit motions. I think you're going to like the offense that you see, and I think traditionally it's been an offense that West Virginia's had success with in the past, those type of running offense with dual threat quarterbacks. And I think even if you look within the Big 12 years, West Virginia's most successful season was when? 2016, that's when they won 10 games. That's the year they kind of had an offense that resembled that type of offense with the read option and plays like that with Skylar Howard and Wendell Smallwood. Wendell Smallwood running for 1,500 yards in that season, and West Virginia's best season record-wise in the Big 12 that they've had yet. And, you look in the past of West Virginia football, they've had successes with the running offenses and the dual threat quarterbacks, whether it be Major Harris, Rasheed Marshall, Pat White, you name it down the line. So I think we're going towards more of that in 2023. So just to, kind of try and give you some silver linings, you got young players. I mentioned the quarterbacks, Garrett Green and Nico Marchiol, but how about the 2 freshman running backs, CJ Donaldson and Jalen Anderson? And then, of course, you still got Tony Mathis and Justin Johnson as well. You got a lot of potential coming back on the West Virginia offense. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a new look with those dual threats. So I would encourage you, give it a chance for sure. Let's get behind the team. But, I will concur. I understand where you're coming from. Not mad at you. More than anything, appreciate you tuning into this and chiming in. I know it's disappointing news for some, including myself, that Neal Brown is coming back for 2023, but just too late in the game. Understandable as well. Kenny says he can't get behind Neal Brown no more. Gave him 2 years of my time. Until Neal Brown is gone, I will watch for the players, not for Neal Brown, period. I want him gone. He's even lied about if he didn't do well that he would resign. He fed us false hope. He lost me as a fan forever. like I said, Kenny, I think a lot of people feel the same way as you do, but I appreciate you still supporting the Mountaineers. And I think ultimately that's the thing. Even if you were against Neal Brown, and I understand where you're coming from, like I said, it's not the path I would have chosen. I'm not exactly happy with the decision myself at all by any means. And I don't want to see Neal Brown come back, but I'm going to still be here covering the team next season here on the Country Roads webcast channel. You guys are still going to hopefully follow and watch every game, and we're still going to root for the Mountaineers. And you know what? There's as good of a chance as us having a successful season as there is us having a bad one. We're 0-0 in 2023 right now, regardless of if Neal Brown would have been our coach or not. And that's the one bright side we can always look to. There's going to be the excitement and the potential there next year regardless. And hopefully, you know, Neal Brown, as he has tended to do every offseason, we know he's a great talker. Maybe he'll talk in some of you naysayers and get y'all drinking the Kool-Aid again, as though the program has support. But I understand if you're not behind Neal Brown yet. And to those of you that aren't behind Neal Brown just yet, I will say this. I think that he has an extremely short leash, probably as short as it can get. And West Virginia has two tough non-con opponents, Pitt and Penn State. If he loses to both of those, I find it hard to believe West Virginia would keep him past those games. Just saying. Let's see. Oh, lost my spot. Hold on, guys. Let me catch a sip of coffee. Anyway, Bo Stacker says we definitely need to support the program and the players for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. Great point, Bo. Appreciate that. You guys continue to drop your thoughts on, you know, Neal Brown staying in the comments there. I will catch up on those real quick before I get out here. I wanted to see, I'm going to look up real quick while I talk to you guys about it. If Gordon Gee had any thoughts on Neal Brown returning, because I know that article was just Rob Alsop, but I'm sure I would think that Gordon Gee put out a statement as well. Let's see here. I'm going to continue to search that. Let me catch up with some of your all's comments while I continue to see if Gordon Gee has made a statement. If I can find one, I'll share that for you guys as well, as I shared the official one from the university and Rob Alsop earlier. Let me see what we got here. That's not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's see. Continuing with your all's comments real quick while that loads, and I'll see if I can see if Gordon Gee has a statement. Let me know in the comments if you all have seen a statement from Gordon Gee on the return of Neal Brown yet. I would like to hear his thoughts. I'm sure he had something to say. I don't think Ren Baker would have probably gave his thoughts yet, but it's interesting that Rob Alsop mentioned him by name in the statement that the university released, and that him and Neal Brown have already apparently talked, and that I guess they must have hit it off. Let's see here. Bo Stacker said it was just handled awful. If they was planning on keeping Neal Brown, they should have just came out and weeks ago to announce that we've been in limbo since week 6. My opinion exactly agrees with yours right there, Bo. You know, that's my issue with the whole situation, is them waiting so long. Don't understand why they did. And I think in doing so, ultimately they decided to fire Shane Lyons. I don't know if firing Neal Brown was also in play there, but I think, you know, they waited too long to pull the trigger on either one of those that they wanted to, you know, decide to do. And so I think that that ultimately is what hurts West Virginia. And because of the timing, Neal Brown, you know, officially coming back, and it's really the only decision that they could make at this time. Trying to see if I can find a statement from Gordon Gee on the situation. I don't see one. I don't think he's came out with a statement. I guess Rob Alsop's is the only one to me for sure that I've seen so far, is that official one from the university. I wonder why Gordon Gee didn't throw in a quote there in that official announcement from the university. A little bit intriguing to me, but if you haven't heard, just flash the graphic up on for anyone that may have jumped in here late. Neal Brown will officially return as WVU head coach in 2023. I shared the official press release from the university at the beginning of the live stream here. If you want to go back and catch that, you can, or catch it on the playback. But the main thing you need to know, the quote that stood out to me, of course, from Rob Alsop is kind of the ending quote where he said, "It is clear that Coach Brown should continue to lead our football program." They also mentioned that new West Virginia athletic director Ren Baker had already met with Neal Brown, and that went into their decision as well. So that was an awful quick evaluation if they've done an evaluation. But I digress on that. Having said that, they said that that as well as they liked the performance of the team in the final couple weeks, 1-2 out of the last 3. I'm sure they'll continue to point to that as one of the reasons they were decided to go this way. But Neal Brown staying at West Virginia for 2023 ultimately is the thing that's happening. So a lot of official news today, but just to kind of update you guys on the big things that came out. Of course, the all Big 12 teams out. That's pretty big, things like that. But I'm going to do a season-ending stat update. I'm sure I'll talk about that more in that, and I'll have that video out for you guys within a week or so. Season-ending stat update, as well as an update on our season prediction roundtable that we do to begin every season of the podcast here on the Country Roads Webcast podcast side of things. But having said that, to update you guys on the big news of the day, of course, that being Ren Baker hired as West Virginia's new athletic director. When that report came out, it was also rumored reports coming out that Neal Brown would return in 2023. The university stepping up and kind of shutting down those rumors, coming out with their official announcement to confirm that that is indeed true. And so now we can officially say Neal Brown will return as West Virginia head coach in 2023. That being said, appreciate you guys tuning in here to this live stream to address the West Virginia University officially endorsing Neal Brown and his return as West Virginia head football coach in 2023. Drop your final thoughts on his return, the new athletic director, or anything you got there in the comments. I'll address the chat here one more time before I get out of here for the night for you guys, but I'll have some videos releasing in shorter form here on the channel for you guys in regards to these topics, as well as, of course, the season stat update I'll talk to you guys about, CRW Hoops content coming. So plenty of Mountaineer sports content coming at the Country Roads Webcast. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. Catching up in the comments with you guys one last time before we get out of here. Justin Campbell says, Gordon Gee better hope things get turned around before the big money guys got his job. Yes, absolutely. I think Gordon Gee is definitely, under fire right now, I guess you could say. I kind of thought that after the Shane Lyons interview. I think now with how everything has gone down, just with how everything happened in succession, the Shane Lyons interview happening with kind of the announcement coming that West Virginia wasn't getting a Power 5 athletic director when people were thinking Rob Mullins and Pat Chun, and they were going the group of 5 route. And then, the very next day, the hire coming out, of course, from that group of 5 ranks, which that's no big issue. But then the Neal Brown staying thing, I think people now, of course, are pinning that on Gordon Gee more so than anything. So we thought, going into 2023, if West Virginia kept Neal Brown, Shane Lyons would be riding or dying with Neal Brown. And it's actually Gordon Gee that looks like he's the one that's really hitching his wagon to Neal Brown. And now I think Gordon Gee's future is probably tied to Neal Brown's as well. So I would agree with your comment, Justin Campbell. He says, Jay Glizzly, 1999. What's going on, man? He says, I like the hire. I'm not a fan of Neal Brown, of bringing back Neal Brown, rather, but it's a smart decision at this point. Could Shane Lyons be the problem, giving Neal Brown the financial support for what he needs? I mean, you can't rule that out as a possibility. Personally, I don't think so. I don't think, unless your athletic director is an extreme micromanager, which is always a possibility, that he has that much of a direct effect on your football program. But having said that, I think that, like I've said in past live streams and past videos, he worked closely with the NCAA. I think that he was, maybe a bit neglected, to work, through some loopholes and do some things that maybe weren't exactly, listed in the rule book, I guess you could say, because of his relationship with NCAA. And I think that played a part in him moving on. And the term Gordon Gee is used as wanting to be, quote unquote, more aggressive in the NIL and transfer portal market. So, I think that could be a hindrance if West Virginia can now pay players more, do more with NIL, promote Country Roads Trust more. It can definitely help them in the long run. So, maybe I agree with you. Bo Stacker says, I'm going to watch my Mountaineers no matter what. There's no coach going to stop me from supporting the program. Exactly. That's the same mentality that I have no matter what. They're the WVU Mountaineers football team. And I enjoy watching them more than, anything else. And that's, those 12 games, there's 12 weeks you get to do that a year are always special, regardless of who's running the team and regardless 0-12 or 12-0. That's what I always like to say. So I'm right there with you, Bo Stacker. Mountaineer Mike says, well, in Neal Brown's defense, we're starting 0-1 either way. Hope all the retained Brown fans keep their energy when we're yet again below 500. Great point, Mountaineer Mike. Don't think I've seen you in here before. Appreciate you tuning in and chiming in. Always encouraged to do so. Hope you subscribe. More Mountaineer sports content on the way for you. But that is an excellent point, and I 100% agree with you, and that's what I'm worried about. With this city, Brown's just so worried that we're going to get off to a bad start and then end up firing him anyway. And I'm like, at that point, it's just like this was all for naught. Say for, maybe the athletic director, I can't say that's for naught. That could still be a good move. But it just seems like you really – you bungled this in a way, I guess you could argue. But, I'd agree. You probably start 0-1. Penn State's going to be a good team. You're probably playing them in Happy Valley to start the season probably. It's going to be tough. Neal Brown's going to have a tough time not starting 1-2, not starting 0-1, but I'm supporting them, and I know West Virginia can win. Like I said, there's definitely some silver linings I mentioned earlier and some bright spots to turn to, and I'm sure by the time that next fall rolls around, I'll be drinking the Kool-Aid again and picking West Virginia to win, maybe. Who knows? But I agree with you. They messed this up in my opinion. Just especially if now, a few months from now, this time next year, West Virginia is on a coaching search because they had another unsuccessful start to the season and fired Neal Brown mid-season. We're all going to kind of look at it as Mountaineer Nation in regards to this West Virginia administration and say, I told you so. Old Golden Blue Show says, if you're a real fan, you will support this team win or lose. The last thing we need is more toxic fan chatter in these players' ears. Couldn't agree more. Eric Cruz says, just remember the players don't get to pick the coach either. If we don't show them support, they will be more likely to transfer elsewhere. Exactly. As much as we hate to complain about players transferring out and West Virginia becoming a farm club with the NIL race and all these things, we can have a direct effect on those things more than we realize as fans. And that's a great point there. Justin Campbell says, always be a Mountaineer fan doesn't mean I have to be happy with the way things are doing things. Just because we were grumbling doesn't mean we were bad fans. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. To me, that's the ultimate thing. You reserve the right to complain about these things when you have, your undying support, when they have your undying support. When you are still complaining, but you're tuning in to every second of every game, if you're getting blown out, if you're blowing somebody out, if you're 0-12, or if you're 12-0. And I think that, that's, what part of being a fan is, getting to speculate on things and getting to, complain about things, just things like that. That's the fun part of being a fan. And, that's what we get to do here. And appreciate you, sharing your thoughts on it here and everyone else that does so, because that's all we're ultimately here to do is we love to talk about the Mountaineers. And even though I think as a majority, probably you could say the fan base didn't want Neal Brown to return, I could also think that as a majority, we could all be encouraged to still get behind and rally behind this team. And I think hopefully we'll have good fan turnout in 2023 still because of it. But that being said, guys, I guess I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, I wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter, run it, under an hour since I did one a little bit earlier. But I'll break off, a smaller version of this video, probably have it up on the channel. Going to have plenty of videos coming out on the channel in the future about this news, about the athletic director news, Mountaineer off-season updates as far as football is concerned, CRW Hoops things ongoing, including podcast episodes if you like long-form things like these live streams. And, of course, we'll have more live streams here with more breaking news that occurs, and still going to try and continue to do at least one of these a week throughout the off-season and throughout basketball season. And if you're a fan of the live streams, we also do post-game basketball live streams as well, trying to do those for each basketball game as much as possible throughout the season. So plenty of West Virginia football content coming from us here at the Country Roads webcast, despite it being the off season, and also got the basketball content going. So Mountaineer sports content coming on, but the main topic at hand, Ren Baker hired as athletic director, and Neal Brown now officially returning as WVU head coach in 2023. If you're watching this on a playback, let me know your thoughts on those topics down in the comments. If you let us know your thoughts here live, we appreciate that as always. But having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.